Before we jump into the video, you may have noticed a new small icon on the thumbnail of this video. You will start seeing these as they are to help communicate what type of video it will be. There are three main categories, being Revival, which is a cardiogram, Custom, which is a TIG torch, and Restoration, which are spanners. Now let's get to the video. Whew. Well, we are in a familiar spot. This is the brick house builds, or the vinyl siding moto that I was in for about 4 years. So it is time to paint the cases, as you guys know, and this is the perfect spot for it because I have fresh air in and I have an exhaust fan, and this place is very well insulated. So it's actually hot in here right now, and it's in the 30s outside. So of course I'm painting. I need somewhere that is great thermally and has a lot of consistent temperatures. The shop is just a little too cold to paint, so I have a clean environment here and I can get to it. So we're gonna go ahead and start spreading parts out, prepping them, and then we're just gonna get started. So the mission is to paint these things by the end of the day. All right, so far I have done a little bit of Scotch-Brite on all of the parts, just giving them a very, very light scuff. I mean, they're already prepped for paint, essentially, so. And now we're gonna get the tape out and we're gonna start masking everything. This will take a little while, but that's okay. Now this piece right here, it doesn't look like it was ever painted on the inside. I'm not 100% sure. So the inner and outer alternator housings, pretty cool pieces. They are made of magnesium, and I don't know if it was ever painted on the inner surface right here. Pretty hard to tell. So I'll likely just forego painting on the inside. Doesn't really matter. But we'll definitely get everything on the outside here. So these should be pretty easy. There's really not much masking, actually. I'm just gonna cover the inner bearing. And then our transmission cover, so I'll go ahead and tape the bolts up, tape up that little section there. Of course, our oil fill. I left the old seal in here just because it's already gonna mask itself. We're gonna replace that anyway, so that's just masking for us. And yeah, a lot of this pretty easy. We'll have a few things on the valve cover, and then of course the case is gonna take a while. Now I'm sure everybody has their own methods here. I just choose to hand tape everything. I don't like painting with everything just assembled to self-mask. I'm not really into that. So this is just how I do it. However way you do it is fine. Well, my camera battery died as I was working through that time-lapse taping stuff up, but now we are done. So let me kind of walk you through where we're at with this thing. We're almost ready for paint. Okay, everything is masked off. So you'll notice I left the studs exposed. That's because we are actually going to paint those. Now, in factory form, what can happen is they get some corrosion in there, and they just build up in all those ridges, and then it just makes it impossible to, like, you know, get the jug off this thing or get the head off. So it's a common practice to either replate these things or go ahead and just paint them. They're just uncoated from the factory. Anyway, we're gonna end up flipping this one over, getting some of the bottom side here. There's a lot of little tricky spots to get, so we'll flip that over. We'll get the paint in there, then we'll flip it back over and paint it like this. Same thing with the lowercase half. So I'll probably start out with it I'll call this upside down from how I'm gonna paint the majority of it, but that'll allow us to get in this area here, get down here. I'm also going to put maybe a little bit of carnauba wax right where the manufacturer date code is here on both halves of the cases. And that way I can just wipe the paint off and it will just leave a nice, leave the original markings there, which is what I want. Now looking underneath of this thing, I've got all of the bolt holes actually masked off. That's gonna make it so I can torque everything down to spec. Beyond that, I mean, you saw me cleaning this stuff. We got the jug taped up and it's all ready to go. Okay, here's where we are at. This might look a little unorthodox. I got floor jacks holding up 2 tubes, which is supporting my case halves. Now this is actually going to be for the kind of curing process. I have a space heater in my house right now, and I'm going to put it under here. It gets really hot, and all that radiant heat I'm going to put just under the cases, and it's going to help cure that paint. But also, this is going to help me just keep the cases in one spot, so I have a great angle for paint to get right here under some tricky spots. So I can do that on both sides and anywhere I need. So being elevated like that helps me out. So I'm going to get that case half set up there very carefully. A little nervous about it. And then we are going to, step one will be to hit everything with acetone again, and then I'm going to hit these with a torch, and we'll kind of get all of the moisture brought out of the metal. We'll wipe that down, and then we'll do like a prep sol, and then we're ready for paint. So I'm going to use a VHT high temp engine paint, and this is a primer here. So you can use the Duplicolor if you want. That's just what I have. And then for paint, this is a little bit more specific. So the Duplicolor brand, and we're going to be using the DE1615, which is a very close match to the factory paint on these. And it looks really good when done. We're not going to clear coat over it because that's how the factory did it. So also the jug and the cylinder head, those are actually not painted from the factory. So there is if you look at a really nice factory bike, there's a slight color difference, but they are just regular cast aluminum. So since these have been worked on and stuff, the coloration's not quite there, and I would rather just paint them and just make them look right. And that's more of a traditional way of doing it, is just painting them. So obviously the cylinder head is not here. It is at the machine shop right now getting work. You guys will see an update on that eventually. But for now, let's throw some paint on some cases. You'll have that. Okay, everything is hot, and we are ready to start throwing on our primer. So I've got my mask over there. I just realized I didn't heat up the valve cover, so I take that back. looks good. Alright, it's been about 30 minutes since I laid down this coat. This heater is perfect. It's like almost hot. So really good heat throughout the cases. So I'm going to go ahead and throw on my color coat. So this is going to be about the same speed. We're going to do a little bit lighter of a coat first, and then we're going to kind of do a heavier coat, and then we're going to see what we need after that. So TBD. All right, it's the next day and everything turned out really good. So I've had this stuff just kind of sitting in this 75-degree heat. And then down here I have my heater, which has been running, and this is like 85 degrees. So I had this stuff kind of cooking last night, and it really helps cure the paint. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start unmasking, which is the fun part. But yeah, worked out really well. And I had just enough paint. In fact, maybe just, I needed 0.5% more paint because I didn't quite get enough paint on this thing. So worked out pretty good. Yeah, we'll set the camera up and I'm gonna start demasking. So on this bike, there's been, so I can get it in the light, there's been a couple times, like right there, where the casting has a little porosity, which is pretty annoying. Who knows, maybe I could have taken like some body filler or something like that and really smoothed it over, but I don't know what it would have been like that from the factory, I'm not sure, so I don't know. Maybe one step I could have gone a little further, but we really needed to get this thing in paint. Some of this paper is a little charred for some reason. All right, now that we're back at the shop, the coloration of these should be a little bit better. So at the other shop, I have like 4500K lights. These are 6000, so it's a whiter light. So now these look more natural. Parts look fantastic. Video on this coming up. But I am super happy with how the cases turned out. So we are darn near ready for assembly. I have essentially every engine component, you know, bearings, rings, pistons, just everything. So we are going to hopefully start assembly potentially in 2 days. So I would love to start getting crank and rods and all that stuff in here. So the thing that we're waiting on now is actually out back. So the exciting thing, and the video you guys are probably going to see next, is going to be all about what we have going on here, which is what?
Plating stuff.
Plating stuff. So we are just starting out doing zinc plating. So the goal is to do all of the components for the bike. I know I had mentioned plating in the past. There was a big dilemma on if I should go ahead and invest in the system or not. Well, we did, and now we're right in the middle of it. So hopefully this is going to be the next video you see in the series. It's going to be pretty awesome. We are really excited about it. So I hope you guys like this video. We are one major step forward on the CBX restoration, and I'm always excited to kind of get to this point, paint cases. It's always something I really enjoy. So anyway, look for the next video on zinc plating, and then the video after that, hopefully, we will be assembling lower end. So again, subscribe if you haven't already. Check some other videos out on the channel, and hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.